the opportunities which came with accessibility of film, of technique as well, that it's easier to make a film.
Yeah.
But this resulted also in a much higher amount of films which are made. And that's why it's crucial also to have curation. So my first time in India, coming here, being invited by NFDC to serve on that jury. And back then it was called 75 Creative Minds. I think last year they had already 100 creative minds coming together. And it was great to see a very inclusive, diverse mix of young talents coming from all over India. I think investing in art is very important, not only on a commercial level, but also on a social level.
You know what defies the laws of physics? Stories. Stories travel faster than the speed of light. They are in the past one moment, in the present the next, and they show us the future in the following. Stories inspire us, create an awareness, entertain us, but most importantly, they show possibilities. In those lines, today we have one person with us who is the right person to talk about All Worlds One Family, because throughout his journey from his education and culture to the career that he has seen, he has brought this vision of all world being one family through the power of art true. He has been the director of European film market. Currently, he has started this unique concept of Seriously Berlin, which is a festival for series and bringing culture together in Berlin. He has worked with films all over the world, especially across South Asia, Arabic countries, entire Middle East, Africa, being the jury, finding those stories which are rooted with but have global appeal. We are thrilled and honored that Dennis has traveled all the way from Bangkok, before Dubai, from Berlin to Spain to India in Mumbai to have this conversation with us. And let's just begin this journey. Dennis, welcome to Mumbai. Welcome to Voice of Artist.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me here in Mumbai. I'm here in Mumbai for the first time, and it's great to start here with this video podcast and with the great concept which you developed.
Thank you so much for saying these encouraging words. What made you put us in your itinerary, in your South Asian trip, and bringing and taking the effort to be here in Mumbai for Voice of Artist?
As you know, and as you already mentioned, I have a close connection to the Indian film industry. I already traveled twice to the Goa Film Bazaar.
Yes, where we met.
And, yeah, where we met for the first time, where we were introduced. And yeah, that's why I always kept this connection to the Indian film industry, to representatives, to delegates, also working with them internationally, also to create platforms. That was always something which was driving me in my career, that I wanted to create platforms to make art visible, to make art accessible also.
Before I begin the conversation, I want you to close your eyes for me, if you will, if you trust me.
Yeah, I trust you.
Thank you. Please close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Please go back to your childhood, the year of your choice. Tell us which part of the world were you in, and a story that you remember from your childhood that touched your heart. You can open your eyes.
Okay, I open my eyes again. And yeah, I was thinking about, I have to tell you, I was born and raised in the northwestern part of Germany, in the countryside. So it was a very remote area where I grew up. And so one venue or one place where I felt always very comfortable and which opened up many perspectives for me, and was also very, very relevant for choosing my career, choosing the direction where I want to work, was the movie theater in our very little town, in our mostly a village, little town, 8,000 people living there. So very, very tiny. But there was this one movie theater, which was really the place to go to see stories from around the world. We were very fortunate to have that we had this movie theater in our hometown, and we had a very engaged and a very ambitious person running this movie theater.
Nice.
And he programmed not only the regular blockbusters, which you can see also in the big multiplex cinemas. He had a very ambitious programming.
Wow.
And programmed films which really opened my horizon. And when I closed my eyes, I was again really feeling like I was sitting in the cinema. It's not existing anymore, unfortunately. It was closed and demolished. It was back in the 90s when I was going to watch films there. So I think it closed in the 2000s. Back in the 80s, it was a smoker cinema. So people were smoking. It was in the 80s and 90s. People were really smoking in the cinema. So when I closed my eyes, I could also smell how the cinema smelled because of the smoke. And there was even a little bar in the back of the cinema. So people were also able to sit on a bar chair at the bar, having a drink, watching films.
Wow.
And so you can see it's still very present in my memories, but also the way how it influenced my life. And that I was so sure that I want to work in this industry, in the movie industry. I think it's all related to the ambitious work of this one curator, this cinema owner who ran the cinema.
Wow. How do you define the art of storytelling? And especially because back then the exposure that you got was great. From there to today, how we started the conversation that you're working not only, you've worked with German films for 8 years, but now you're working and you started with American independent films as well, but now you're working at a global level. And the interest and passion that you started with about the Indian films also. So starting from that small hamlet of a village to right now at global level, how do you see the art of storytelling?
The art of storytelling is very diverse, of course. You can tell stories on a very big screen, also in American blockbuster films, for example. Of course, it's also a very professional art of storytelling. I was just in Bangkok, and I was meeting there a friend, a Lao filmmaker, and she brought me to an IMAX in Bangkok, and we were watching the film Seven, which is a classic film from 1995. Yeah. And I watched it there on this IMAX on the big screen, and it was beautiful, restored and just re-released. And it was impressive how this kind of storytelling in a blockbuster film works also on this very big screen, and which emotions it creates as well. Yeah.
Tell us with some example. You have a German background. You have worked and seen and worked and appreciated and evaluated different types of stories from over the world. You mentioned Seven, the professional way of making cinemas, which came from the US. Tell us the range that you were talking about. What different variations do you see in films across the world?
It's a never-ending resource, maybe. It's the storytelling. And there are some nations or some cultures which have been silenced for too long. And for example, Saudi Arabia, they just reopened in 2018 the cinemas. Before that, cinemas were closed. There was no Saudi filmmaking. And after that, after they reopened the cinemas, Saudi filmmakers had a platform again to tell their stories.
Yeah.
And many are very talented storytellers. And so nowadays you can see a lot of stories coming now from Saudi Arabia, which had been silenced before.
Right.
So it's very diverse, and there are so many cultures. Every language creates a different kind of storytelling, I would say. Every culture creates a different type of storytelling. Every influence also of media, of environments creates a different kind of storytelling.
What is the journey that you have seen which has led you to appreciate films the way you do right now?
My huge interest in film, also in classic films,
Yeah.
because I think you can only understand recent filmmaking
If you know
if you know the history of film. And I was also partly studying Spanish film history, because I studied partly in Spain. And that was very interesting for me to really understand how film and storytelling can also be used to tell stories which can't be told in a very official way.
Communicating a message subtly and indirectly.
Yeah.
And that's where creativity comes in, I'm assuming, because that's when you will see how creatively you can communicate a message in the most subtle possible way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me tell you maybe about one film which was very outstanding in Spanish cinema and which influenced me also quite a lot. So the title was, I have now the Spanish title in my mind, El Verdugo. It was a film about a guy who was in charge of execution in Spain,
Okay.
which existed still in the time when General Franco was in power.
Right.
But it was also the time when tourism became very important in Spain. Yeah?
Right.
That many tourists came to Spain, go to the beautiful beaches.
Yeah.
And he told the story about one thing, execution, which is more,
On the horrific side.
horrific side, and then the mix with tourism. That was
It's such a big contrast.
it was a very big contrast, and it was also showing that society is changing quite a lot. Yeah, and it felt like something from the medieval age is standing against something which is just coming up and is creating a future.
Do you see, because you come across so many works from all over the world, do you see a change or a pattern, if not a change, in the reason people want to tell the stories?
Of course, every filmmaker, every person telling stories, they have different reasons why they want to tell stories. If they want to create social impact, for example. What I can see, or if I look back to the last decades, what I can see is that accessibility has been increased, so that people, also with digitization, that you can shoot films much cheaper and much easier than back in the days when you had 35mm prints and when it was really film, when it was really expensive to shoot on film. So this accessibility gives also a lot of chances to people who don't have the resources, the financial resources. So that changed the accessibility and also the stories which are told.
Right.
Which is very positive, I would say. That this accessibility gave also a platform to storytelling which was silenced before because of economic reasons.
Right.
But I have a question for you, even if I'm not in the role of interviewing.
You're on my usual seat, so please.
Okay, so how is it for you in India, in Mumbai, to have access to international films? Is it that you can find those films in movie theaters, or?
Lately it has increased the accessibility. Of course, we are lucky we are in Mumbai because we are home to Mami Film Festival, which anyway, even All We Imagine Is Light, the film from India which went to Cannes. The curators there try to bring global cinemas and make us, be available around them. Lately what you started seeing happening is, even in theatres and multiplexes, we are seeing in the big chains like PVR and Inox, they have started screening some films which otherwise would not come to theatres. We have seen a lot of Japanese films being screened there. I have not yet seen any African film or anything from the African subcontinent, but the interest, the awareness and the access is increasing slowly and steadily. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was asking this question because for me in Germany, it's quite hard if I don't follow this festival circuit to have access to Indian films.
Right.
For example, I watched one Indian film, Girls Will Be Girls, last year, but I did not watch it in Germany in a movie theater. I watched it when I was in Sofia. It's a Sofia International Film Festival because it played in competitions there.
Interesting.
And I'm happy that I had the opportunity to watch it. Yeah. Because someone curated the film.
Yes.
And I was lucky to be on the jury to watch this film.
Yeah.
And people going to the festival are lucky to have access to the film.
Right.
But this is only an opportunity which is there for people living in bigger cities, in cities with a film festival, who give access.
I was going to go in a different route, but I'll come back to that. This is very important what you said. There are such great films being made in all parts of the world, but they don't reach the audience. And like you rightly said, while the festival circuit is increasing in terms of popularity is the wrong word, but presence and awareness, it's still not largely spread enough. The amount of love, respect, appreciation that the films which travel festival circuits deserve, we are a little away from the ideal, is what I would say. And then, of course, the films which hit the mark and which win the awards in global festivals, they get attention and there is a path there. But the majority of films, they don't really get to reach the audience in the first place to watch. What do you see is the solve for it, or the responsibility of filmmakers, festivals, at the same time audiences also, to hunt and find those cinemas so they get into the mainstream?
Yeah, you cannot really solve this situation. So that is part of the
Thank you for being real.
Sorry, I need to be very realistic here.
Yeah.
There are just too many films made. Yeah, there are too many films made in this world, and I already talked about the opportunities which came with accessibility of film, of technique as well, that it's easier to make a film. Yeah. But this resulted also in a much higher amount of films which are made. And that's why it's crucial also to have curation.
That's so interesting, because this is such a behind the scenes job that people don't realize the importance of film curators who are funneling out the best possible combination of films that or content that one should consume and get access to. And this is so right. The other thing that you mentioned, that there are just too many films which are being made, that makes me think, while it's become easier to be a filmmaker or a storyteller, how should one ensure that they do justice to this art form? Because while we would like to believe that everybody is an artist and everybody can be a filmmaker, but I want to appreciate the fact that it is a serious business. It is a serious skill. It is a serious technique which needs one to understand, appreciate the structure, the formation, and all the logic and rationale behind this beautiful creative process.
Yeah, it needs also training. Yeah, it needs training. It needs time to train. It needs also some industry veterans or film masters to train new generations. Yeah, to give their skills to new generations.
Yeah,
it needs resources. Because time is always also money, yeah.
Of course.
People need to invest their time, but also need to pay their rent.
Yes.
At the same time.
Yeah.
So in Europe we are quite lucky to have a proper funding system, yeah, for film, for media content as well.
Yeah.
In some parts. But especially for film, as it's considered as an art form as well.
Which is great.
Yeah, especially in countries like France. Yeah,
Yeah.
They really consider film as an art.
Yeah.
That's why they also invest in film, invest tax money at the end.
Right.
In filmmaking, in development of stories,
Not only in Europe, but we have seen so many co-productions happening, and the number of co-productions internationally has been increasing. So it's like utilizing the global resources to bring out stories from any and every part of the world.
Yeah, and of course, co-producing is also a huge opportunity to reach a wider audience. For example, Girls Will Be Girls. It was a co-production between, if I'm not wrong, it was France and India. The filmmaker or the producer, they had access via the French co-producer to the French funding system. Yeah, and that made only possible to develop the story and to shoot the film and have a higher production budget to realize this film, which can then reach an audience in different countries and also at festivals. That film premiered not in Cannes but at the Sundance Film Festival, which is also a big, prestigious film festival, which just took place again in January in Utah.
It would be important to talk about distribution and sales of the films or content. I want to be inclusive of your series as well. More often than not, a lot of filmmakers whom we have been talking to, they don't realize that the actual process of realizing the potential of a project starts after the project is made, after the film is shot and post-produced and everything.
Yeah. That's a very important thing to mention, yeah, that the thoughts about distribution, yeah, because why are people making films? Why are people creating content? Because they want others to see it, yeah, not to just express themselves, but also to reach an audience. And I think it's really one of the big mistakes to just go there and do not think about distribution at an early stage of a project. Yeah, when you develop a film, when you develop a series, that you think about which audience could be attracted by this kind of film, by my story, which is my target audience for a film. And
thank you for bringing this point out, because you said two things. One, be prepared before coming to the market to utilize the opportunity in the best way. At the same time, don't wait till your product is ready to talk about distribution. So what is the right time or stage for people to, like, how do they pick which projects to talk about in these markets?
And that changed also over the time. Yes, that, maybe a decade ago it was more usual to come with a mostly finished film. Nowadays there are also a lot of platforms where you can already present a project, like co-production markets. Yeah, if you have a film which is suitable to be co-produced internationally, then a co-production market could be a great opportunity to make your project at a very early stage already visible, not only to potential co-producers, but also to festival programmers, also to potential distributors, to potential sales agents, to also funding institution representatives, so that you put the project already on the radar for many people. That it does not come just out of the blue at some point, and that programmers are already following the development of a project. That's important, but also to use then later on works in progress sections where you can also present not finished films, also to attract people who are industry people who are important for the distribution.
And similarly, much before that is the Screenwriters Lab opportunity.
Of course, yeah.
A word of caution, but here I would want to give to people who are pursuing filmmaking. Work in progress or screenwriting lab does not mean that that part does not need work. Even there, the idea needs to be fleshed out and it has to reach a stage, and it can't be just at a thought level. What patterns are you seeing, the kind of things that are coming in co-production or work in progress, and what is the message to those people?
Yeah, it also depends on the event, on the co-production market or Screenwriters Lab or Works in Progress section. Every event has different regulations. So for some, you already need a completed script, for example, for a co-production market. Or you need already a specific amount of funding, of financing in place. For others, it's not the case. So you always need to check out what are the requirements for specific programs. I was just on the selection jury of a program which is called Bridging Generations by the European Writers Club. That's a program which works not with scripts or developed serious concepts, but with series at an early stage. So there are also programs which give more the opportunity to work in writers' rooms, for example, and to get already some financial resources and programs to develop, to develop a story. So it really depends on the program and also on the status your project is in.
Ideally, in an ideal world, if the art is good, if you make or create the art for art's sake, for being true to yourself, it should drive charts for you or bring in the money for you. It's not ideal, the world that we live in right now. Ideally, it should be a byproduct, the charts, and art should be the focus. But reaching audience, does it translate into making money also through art? Or how do you see the business of art by keeping the art intact?
I think investing in art is very important, not only on a commercial level, but also on a social level, because art also transports values, democratic values, for example. So I think it's a good idea to invest more in art.
Is it, from your global perspective, is it becoming better for independent filmmakers to make money out of art? Because being an artist, you need to survive and thrive, and we were discussing you have to pay your rent, and how do you find that ecosystem which lets the artist in you come out?
I don't know if it's easier or harder to survive as an artist right now. In terms of, so because I look really on my section, which is film, there are some challenges, of course, that less people are going to movie theaters to watch art house films in Europe. That also the budgets of streamers become lower, which are invested in new local shows, in new TV shows. So I don't see really the trend that it becomes easier to survive as an artist, as a storyteller.
Let's talk about European film market and the amount of work that happens behind the scenes to get a range of 12,000 people who attend it. It's a huge scale in which you operate, which shows the power of art balanced with discipline and management.
Yeah. No, I was really seeing when I started this job that it's much more management, also management of many people behind the scenes to make such an event happen. Because you said 12,000 participants are coming to attend the market. There are over 600 companies exhibiting. So there's a lot of work, a lot of administrational work, a lot of sales work as well, a lot of communication work. And to be very honest, this job was the job which was maybe a bit more far away from working with artists at the end, because it was much more creating this commercial platform.
Right.
So the curation of the festival was done, of course, by the selection committee of the festival, by the artistic director of the festival. The work of the European film market is to create a commercial platform. Yeah. So, but of course, this involves also creativity to develop the right offers, the right platforms, the right opportunities for maybe also artists, for filmmakers who are underprivileged, for example, who come from underrepresented communities. How can we create an offer which is inclusive or more inclusive than it was before? How to create programs to increase diversity in the film industry, to increase inclusivity as well. How to create offers which are accessible also for people from the industry with disabilities, for example.
Right.
So I put a very strong focus into development of the market to make it more accessible and to give a platform also for filmmakers who don't have this access usually.
Appreciate that effort, because DEI is such, diversity, equity, inclusion is such an important aspect of our existence as humans. In an ideal world, we should not be even talking about it, but the efforts that individuals and then collectives take, and like you rightly said, films or content is such a powerful medium to bring out different perspectives out. Talking about different perspectives, what are your views on Indian talent, Indian stories? Tell us about your experience of being a jury in the Creative Minds of Tomorrow with the government of India.
It was a great experience to be on that jury, Creative Minds of Tomorrow. That was not last year, but the year before. So my first time in India. And back then it was called 75 Creative Minds. I think last year they had already 100 Creative Minds coming together. And it was great to see a very inclusive, diverse mix of young talents coming from all over India, also from remote areas. So it was not so much Mumbai focused or Kolkata focused like
because that's
other parts. So it gives the program a great opportunity and a springboard for young talents. And the jury work was about the 48 hours film competition. So they were grouping in teams, the talents, and they had 48 hours to create short films.
Wow.
So there was a lot of pressure put on on those young talents.
To be creative under pressure is...
in such a short time to shoot as well the film. In Goa, to edit the film and to screen it at the end on a big screen. And it was incredible what was brought on screen in such a short time by young talents from all over India.
How are the creative minds of tomorrow, of future, different from the creative minds of today?
I think their way in telling stories is often different in a way because they are using media in a different way. So the consumption of media changed, of course. Social media has a different role in their lives, in also storytelling. That's why, for example, serial content is also, or serial storytelling is also used quite a lot in social media formats, yeah, in social media series, for example. So that's why many formats become also shorter. Of course, also the attention span becomes shorter for many people. Consuming a lot of content on cell phones, but also on notebooks, and that changes also the creation of film, the creation of series, and that makes also the new generation much more working with different formats.
I'm curious. Yes, the attention span is decreasing. Yes, the social media consumption is increasing. People have started experimenting with even vertical formats of films now, instead of the usual 16:9, and the duration has reduced. People are trying to use social media, especially platforms like Instagram, to show their storytelling or filmmaking capabilities. I'm curious, can a story be told in a minute? Like, what is the shortest film possible?
Of course, a story can be told in 30 seconds or a minute. I don't think that you can really develop a character in that short time. But of course, you have the genre of short films and of very. I haven't seen a 30-minute film so far, but a 36 seconds film. But of course, you can. I think if you really work with a short format, the story needs the time it needs, yeah. And if the story is capable to be told in this short time, then it's the right format. There are also short films which are not very narrative, yeah. So I think the short film format is also a format which can be used not for linear storytelling,
right,
but also for expressing emotions or feelings, or work in a more experimental way.
The edits will become very important. The post-production will become very important, I'm assuming.
It's always important. The post-production is always important, but also changes, yeah, with the use of technology. That's also something which becomes very important for creative minds of tomorrow. That, of course, the technology is changing, which is used. That more and more AI technology become important, especially when it comes to post-production. Also to reduce costs for productions. Especially VFX. There is technology really taking over a role which is very cost reducing.
That's interesting. What you're saying here without saying is, if you have mastered short format, you will have to learn the ropes of long format, because it's not the same model. I'm going back to what we were talking about, short format, because the way you develop a story for a 120-minuter versus a 1-minuter would be very, very different. A lot of people try to create their presence in their social medias by creating short format content, hoping that they will land up finding partners who can collaborate with them on long format. Would that really work?
No, but there are enough examples also of short filmmakers who really stay with their format, because they really developed their voice in this short film format, and go on producing in this format, because this is a way which is fitting to their kind of storytelling or to their form of creating art, creating films.
Yeah.
But of course, for many filmmakers, it used to be the springboard to produce first a short film and then to go into the fiction or into the feature film format. For some, it's going also back. Yeah, so there have been also short films produced or directed then by, again, Pedro Almodóvar, who brought after several feature films a short film to Cannes. So.
Thank you for giving such hopeful perspective, Dennis, because it is so nice and light to hear the possibilities that you are bringing out. You can remain a you can remain a filmmaker in short format, or you can go from this direction to that, or just find what works for you and be fluid. But it's okay if you continue doing one format, as long as you are able to communicate the message.
Of course, yeah. So you just need to find the right format for your story.
Yeah.
And then stick to the format and believe in yourself.
What makes you keep going in the work that you're doing? Because you sound so passionate and you think from so many different perspectives.
I was always trying to facilitate. Yeah, I was trying to create platforms and to help filmmakers, to help creators, artists to find an audience, to produce and to distribute their films, their projects. And of course, it gave me a lot of joy seeing a film premiering at a big festival and knowing that I was part of this journey, to reach an audience, to follow a vision. And that gives me joy and keep me going.
What is your voice of artist?
I would not consider myself as an artist. That's why I struggle a bit to reply to this question.
I would respectfully disagree. I think you are an artist because had you not had the artistic lens, you could not have supported so many artists. You would not have understood or empathized with them and found solutions to the actual, real, tangible problems or roadblocks that they face. So allow me to respectfully disagree with you. You are an artist at heart, at soul, in action, and you are one of the fortunate ones who works with artists. Not many artists get a chance in their lives to pursue their art or be in touch with the artistic community. So I would say that you are fortunate, blessed, and talented as an artist.
Okay, then I take this as a compliment.
It is.
Of course, I was telling you what gives me joy.
Yeah.
And I think creating platforms, creating opportunities, maybe this is my artistry.
Yeah, and that counts because what we discussed, an artistic journey is a very lonely journey, which is where I think we are resonating as Voice of Artist platform and you as an individual artist. We wanted to bring people together who are like-minded, who are on the same journey of artistic pursuit, who might somewhere find it a little lonely or maybe feel lost, or even if no negative motivation, just the fact that it's nice to be a part of community which believes in the power of art, which wants to see artists grow, thrive, and through individuals thriving, it's the universal artistic energy which gets nurtured, which gets strengthened. And like you said, the role that art plays in this world and human, I think art makes us human. That's the power of art, right? So how beautiful it is that sitting in Mumbai, a person who's from Central India, a person who's from Germany and lived all over the world, experienced all over global cinema, are talking about art, because art is what is connecting us right now.
I totally agree, and I would like to thank you for this opportunity to be here, to have this conversation, and that I also learned something about myself.
to wrap this and keep this emotion alive for now, what would you say to the people who are on the same boat as you, who may not find I don't know, whether the courage to call themselves an artist, or they have an artistic side but have not gotten it out for whatever reasons? What would your message to be to such people?
That they are bringing an important contribution, because platforms are only living when there is content, which is then handled on this platform or on a market, or which is shown at a festival to an audience. And as I said at the very beginning, I think it's also hard work. It's hard work to create art, but it's also hard work to bring art to an audience. So be prepared to work hard. That's my message. But I think at the end it's worth it, because it's a real contribution to values, to the art scene, to society.
That is such a powerful message, which is also empowering at the same time, and creating an accountability, which is so important. This is like a perfect summation of what we've been talking about. Art can empower you if you're accountable of your art and your artistic self. Dennis, it has been a pleasure talking to you today on Voice of Artists platform. We are thrilled, and thank you so much for taking the time and the effort to come to India to do this conversation in person. It would not have been the same had we doing this virtually.
I totally agree, and the pleasure was mine.
Thank you for coming to Mumbai. Thank you.